Yet another day in America. In Toledo, Ohio, Whitmer High took on Central Catholic. What should be a fun Friday night, taking in local high school football, turned into a war zone. Bullets flew. Folks ran for their lives. These are just some of the images from the game. Should parents be shielding their children at a high school football game? Many will continue to rightfully ponder. Is this the America we want? Are these the scenes via WTOL 11 that conjure up emotions of safety? Are we safer? Or are we traumatizing everyone, specifically children and young adults, over and over and over again? Many, including myself, would support the latter, and yet hardly anything has changed. Here's how it played out on the broadcast of the game.
Pass caught by Corvell Morgan. Morgan to the 20. We're going to break.
Local media would report at the time. Multiple people would go to the hospital. They were victims of gun violence in the United States, per Giffords.org. 39,000 Americans die from gun violence every year, which averages to 100 a day. Unacceptable, but it's driven by the gun lobby. One day after the shooting, the Toledo Blade reported investigators, with the use of surveillance footage, identified the intended target. In effect, 3 people were wounded. Suspects are still at large. According to the Toledo Police Department, 2 females and 1 male were shot. Toledo Fire and Rescue arrived on scene and began treating the victims, and then they were transported to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. 13 ABC noted attendees were scanned with a metal wand for weapons. They report the shooting occurred outside the stadium. In all, more than 12 gunshots were heard at the southwest corner of the stadium, near the main entrance, at which time people in the stands and on the field began to take cover and flee in the opposite direction of the shooting. Those recovering from what occurred are a student from Whitmer High, including 2 adults, 1 male, 1 female.
To our students, staff, and community, we want you to know that you are safe. This was a crime that was unrelated in any way to a Washington local student. We want our students and staff to know that they are loved.
Just a quick critique as we take in this video. I say this respectfully to the superintendent. We have countless examples of this occurring in the U.S. continuously. And these shootings keep happening, whether related or unrelated to those in attendance. In California, a local football coach, Joe Pastrana, broke up a fight between students. He was shot. A GoFundMe has been set up for him. In Kentucky, a baseball diamond was renamed in a victim's honor who lost their life to gun violence. Preston Cope was 15. Parlier High School also honored a victim to gun violence. His name was Ricardo Chavana. In Tennessee, a high school basketball game was marred by a shooting. 3 people were shot, 2 fatally. Just days ago, 16-year-old Latrell Duncan, a standout basketball player in New Jersey, was shot and killed outside of his high school. Another critique I have is the following, and I go back to what transpired in Uvalde, and then what happened afterwards, and how there's been plenty of other shootings, as we know, in this country. And what I always hear from politicians and even those who carry the water for law enforcement is we need more police officers. We need more cops. We need a higher police presence. In Toledo, WTOL reported officials said no less than 15 deputies were working at the Whitmer and Central Catholic high school football game where a shooting happened outside the stadium during the 4th quarter. Witnesses said security was so tight at Whitmer's football stadium, Central's fans were not even allowed to use bathrooms intended for Whitmer fans. And yet, it still happens. It is a facade to think that giving more tax dollars to precincts across the country will result in less violence. As Brookings would write, a 2020 analysis of national police spending and crime trends showed no correlation between police funding and crime rates one way or the other. Even in cases of increased police spending and correlated crime reduction, municipalities have to weigh the negative effects that accompany adding more police officers, such as increasing arrests for low-level crimes, which contribute to mass incarceration and disproportionately affect Black communities. Brookings would also write, and I quote, "This gap in data speaks to a larger need. Gun violence requires more than just policing to fix it. And one of the biggest, the gun lobby." Why do so many media outlets fumble this every single time? It's the gun lobby and their influence on politicians to keep more firearms widely available across the country. As the midterms are approaching, remember those names who will put profits over their own constituents every day of the week.